Your soulmate is trying to tell you something important. Read this message immediately. My beloved child, freeze this moment for just a heartbeat, because what you're about to hear isn't arriving by accident. There is a reason your eyes stopped here today, and if you leave too quickly, one quiet truth may pass by unnoticed. Something has been moving beneath the surface of your life, so gently that only now are the pieces beginning to reveal themselves. Have you noticed those strange moments lately? A familiar feeling that appears without warning, a sudden memory that seems too vivid, or an unexpected calm that arrives in the middle of uncertainty. These are not answers by themselves, but together they form the beginning of a message. And the most surprising part is this: someone connected to your future has been trying, in their own unseen way, to reach your awareness. Not with loud words. Not with dramatic signs. But through the quiet language that only a prepared heart can recognize. Stay with this thought for a little longer, because what comes next may change the way you look at everything that has happened recently. There is often a moment before every important chapter when life becomes strangely silent. Most people mistake that silence for emptiness. But what if it is actually preparation? Imagine standing before a door that has already been unlocked, yet you keep searching for the key because you cannot believe it is ready to open. That is where many people are today. They search harder, worry more, and question every step, while the message waiting for them is incredibly simple. Your soulmate is not trying to pull you backward into old stories. They are trying to guide you toward the version of yourself that is finally ready to receive something greater. The message is not about fear. It is about timing. It whispers, keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. Every challenge you have faced has quietly shaped the language through which this message can finally be understood. Pause for a second and ask yourself something honest. Why did certain connections disappear? Why did some plans collapse even after you gave them everything? Perhaps the answer was never about failure. Perhaps every closed path was creating enough space for the right path to become visible. Sometimes destiny removes the noise before it reveals the signal. And that signal is becoming stronger now. You may not recognize it immediately because important truths rarely arrive wrapped in certainty. They arrive wrapped in curiosity. They invite you to look again, to think differently, to notice what you once ignored. What if the next conversation you have carries more meaning than expected? What if a random decision quietly redirects your entire future? These possibilities are closer than they appear. There is another layer to this message that many people overlook. Your soulmate is not searching for perfection. They are searching for authenticity. The version of you that stops pretending, the version that no longer measures worth by comparison, the version that chooses peace over endless proving. That is the frequency this message carries. Every day you move closer to becoming that person, the invisible distance between your paths becomes smaller. You cannot always measure progress by what you see. Sometimes progress is happening in your perspective long before it appears in your circumstances. The outside world changes after the inside world becomes ready. Now listen carefully, because this may be the sentence someone needed to hear today. You are not late. You are not forgotten. And you are certainly not walking without direction. There are moments being arranged that you cannot yet predict. A meeting. A conversation. A realization. Even a single decision that seems ordinary could become the turning point people later call destiny. Isn't it fascinating how the biggest chapters often begin with the smallest choices? That is why today matters more than it first appears. Before this moment fades, remember one thing. Messages like this are never about predicting every detail of tomorrow. They exist to awaken your awareness today. Once your awareness changes, your path begins to change with it. So keep your heart open. Keep your eyes observant. Keep moving with quiet confidence. Because the message trying to reach you has not ended, it has only just begun. And in the next chapter, another piece of this remarkable puzzle will finally come into focus. Hold on for one more moment. Because the story becomes even more fascinating from here. The first message opened a door, but what lies beyond that door is something very few people ever stop long enough to notice. There is a reason your journey has unfolded exactly the way it has. Every delay, every unexpected turn, every unanswered question has been quietly preparing you for a conversation that doesn't begin with words, it begins with recognition. When the right moment arrives, something inside you will simply know. No one will have to convince you. No one will need to explain it. That quiet certainty is the language your future has been trying to teach you all along. Think back over the last few weeks. Have you felt yourself changing in ways you couldn't fully explain? Perhaps your priorities shifted. Perhaps certain distractions suddenly lost their power. Maybe you've become more patient, or maybe you've started expecting something meaningful without knowing why. These are not random emotional waves. They are signs that your perspective is expanding. And when your perspective changes, the opportunities around you begin to change as well. Here's the remarkable part. Your soulmate's message isn't asking you to chase endlessly. It's asking you to notice. Notice the people who bring peace instead of confusion. Notice the opportunities that feel natural instead of forced. Notice how some paths become lighter the moment you stop resisting them. Destiny rarely shouts. More often, it whispers through simple moments that most people overlook. The greatest turning points often arrive disguised as ordinary days. But there is one obstacle that deserves your attention. Doubt has a strange habit of arriving just before clarity. It quietly asks, what if nothing changes? Yet there is another question that deserves even more space. What if everything is already changing, and you simply haven't seen the full picture yet? That single thought has the power to transform the way you move through each day. Instead of waiting with fear, you begin walking with expectation. Instead of searching desperately for answers, you become ready to recognize them when they appear. Picture yourself standing beneath a sky just before sunrise. To someone impatient, it still looks like night. But someone who understands the rhythm of dawn knows the light is already on its way. Life works much the same way. Some of the brightest chapters begin while everything still appears quiet. The silence isn't empty, it is full of preparation. And preparation has a way of making extraordinary moments seem almost effortless when they finally arrive. There is another truth hidden inside this message. The connection you're moving toward isn't meant to distract you from your purpose. It is meant to strengthen it. The right person doesn't replace your dreams. They remind you why those dreams mattered in the first place. They don't ask you to become someone else. They inspire you to become more completely yourself. That is why growth comes before recognition. When your inner world becomes steady, your outer world begins reflecting that same balance. So as you continue listening, don't rush ahead. Let each idea settle naturally. Sometimes the most valuable message isn't the loudest one. It's the one that quietly stays with you long after the video ends. And if this journey has already sparked something meaningful within you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Someone else may read your words at exactly the moment they need encouragement. If these stories continue to inspire you, subscribing simply makes it easier for us to meet again in the next chapter. Now here's the question that changes everything. What if the message you've been waiting to receive isn't traveling toward you anymore? What if you're already standing inside it? That possibility shifts everything. It means today's choices matter. Today's mindset matters. Today's courage matters. Every small act of hope becomes another step toward the future that has been quietly unfolding all along. Stay with this journey just a little longer. The next chapter reveals why certain events in your life seemed strangely connected, and why one unexpected realization could become the missing piece you've been searching for without even realizing it. Wait, before you decide you've already understood the message, there is one final layer that has remained hidden until now. It is the kind of truth that doesn't arrive with noise or urgency. It appears quietly, almost like a distant light becoming clearer as you continue walking toward it. And if you've stayed with this story until this moment, perhaps it is because a part of you was always meant to hear what comes next. Imagine receiving a letter that was written long before you ever opened it. The words never changed, but the person reading them did. That is exactly how life works. The message your soulmate has been trying to share has not suddenly appeared today. In many ways, it has been waiting patiently for the version of you that could finally understand it. Timing isn't only about events. Timing is also about awareness. Sometimes the greatest revelation comes not because something new happened, but because your heart became ready to see what had always been there. There is a reason certain people entered your life only for a season. There is a reason some conversations ended before you expected them to. At the time, those moments may have felt confusing, even disappointing. But now, if you look back with fresh eyes, you'll notice something remarkable. Every chapter carried a lesson that quietly guided you toward greater wisdom, stronger confidence, and deeper clarity. None of it was wasted. Every experience became another piece of the path leading you here. Now consider this question carefully. What if your soulmate has been hoping that, before your paths truly align, you would discover one powerful truth about yourself? Not your achievements. Not your appearance. Not the expectations placed upon you by others. But your ability to trust your own direction. The strongest connections are built when two people arrive with confidence rather than fear, purpose rather than uncertainty, and hope rather than hesitation. That is the message growing stronger with every step you take. Notice how different your perspective feels compared to when this journey began. The mystery is no longer about wondering if something meaningful exists. The mystery has become how beautifully everything may come together when the right moment arrives. That shift changes everything. It replaces anxiety with anticipation. It transforms waiting into preparation. And suddenly, every ordinary day becomes another opportunity to move closer to the future you've been quietly building without even realizing it. Think about the small choices you make after this moment. The kindness you offer. The courage you show. The dreams you refuse to abandon. These decisions may seem ordinary today, yet they often become the memories that define tomorrow. Extraordinary lives are rarely created through one dramatic moment. They are built through countless meaningful choices that almost no one notices at the time. The future has a remarkable way of honoring consistent hope. And perhaps this is the message your soulmate wanted you to hear most clearly. Don't lose faith in the journey simply because you cannot see the destination yet. Every sunrise begins while the horizon is still dark. Every masterpiece begins with a single brushstroke. Every unforgettable story begins with one quiet decision to keep moving forward. Your story is no different. So carry this thought with you long after these words fade away. Walk into tomorrow with open eyes, a steady heart, and the confidence that every meaningful step has value, even when its purpose isn't immediately visible. The chapters ahead are not asking you to become someone else. They are inviting you to fully become yourself. The message has finally reached you. Not because it suddenly appeared, but because today, you were finally ready to receive it. And somewhere beyond today's horizon, another extraordinary chapter is already beginning to write itself. Stay curious, keep your heart open, and remember. Sometimes the most important message is the one that quietly changes the way you see your own future forever. A quiet moment is approaching, and this is where everything you've heard until now begins to connect. Not through coincidence, but through understanding. Every clue, every feeling, every unexpected turn has been leading toward this final realization. The message was never meant to make you impatient. It was meant to awaken something already growing inside you. And once that awakening begins, the world starts looking different. Familiar places seem filled with new meaning. Ordinary conversations feel unexpectedly important. Even the smallest decisions begin carrying the weight of possibility. Imagine looking back on this very day months from now. You may smile and quietly say, "That was the moment I started seeing things differently." Not because one magical event changed everything overnight, but because your perspective shifted. And when perspective changes, direction follows. The future doesn't always arrive by making a loud entrance. Sometimes it gently walks beside you until you finally recognize it. There is one final thought your soulmate has been trying to place in your heart. It is simple, yet incredibly powerful. Never allow temporary uncertainty to convince you that your permanent future has been lost. Life often hides its greatest opportunities behind moments that seem ordinary. The person who keeps moving with hope eventually discovers that nothing meaningful was ever truly delayed, it was simply arriving at the perfect time. Perhaps you've wondered why certain dreams refuse to disappear. Why some hopes remained alive even after difficult seasons. That persistence wasn't an accident. Some dreams stay with you because they belong to the life you're still walking toward. They quietly remind you that your story isn't finished yet. Every sunrise brings another chance to become the person your future has been waiting for. And here's something worth remembering whenever doubt tries to return. Your value has never depended on how quickly life unfolds. Your worth has never been measured by comparison. The right connection isn't built on perfect timing according to the world, it grows through two people becoming ready in their own journeys. That readiness is far more important than speed. So when tomorrow arrives, carry confidence instead of fear. Choose patience instead of pressure. Keep your heart open to meaningful conversations, unexpected opportunities, and quiet moments of clarity. The message you've received today isn't asking you to predict the future. It's encouraging you to prepare for it with wisdom, gratitude, and hope. If this journey has spoken to you in a meaningful way, you're warmly invited to leave a comment sharing the one sentence that stayed with you the most. Someone else reading it may find exactly the encouragement they were searching for. And if these stories continue to bring you inspiration and perspective, subscribing is simply a gentle way to stay connected for the next chapter we share together. Now, before this story comes to a close, remember one last thing. Your soulmate's message was never only about meeting someone. It was about becoming someone. Someone who walks with confidence. Someone who chooses hope over hesitation. Someone who understands that every season has a purpose. Because the most extraordinary connections don't begin the day two paths cross. They begin much earlier. The moment two hearts start growing into the people they were always meant to become. So leave this moment with peace instead of questions. Leave with courage instead of doubt. Leave with the quiet certainty that your journey is still unfolding, and some of the most beautiful pages of your story have not yet been written. Until the next chapter, keep looking forward. Your future may be closer than you ever imagined. One last thought. Don't close this chapter just yet, because the final piece of the message has been waiting for this exact moment. You've traveled through mystery, reflection, and possibility. Now comes the quiet realization that ties everything together. Sometimes the greatest discovery isn't learning something new, it's recognizing what has been true all along. Your soulmate's message was never meant to create endless questions. It was meant to replace uncertainty with purpose. Every step you've taken, even the ones that felt slow or confusing, has added something valuable to your journey. The patience you learned, the strength you developed, the wisdom you gained through experience, none of it happened by chance. Those qualities became the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a new horizon. Behind you is every lesson that shaped your character. Ahead of you is a future that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. The remarkable part is that you don't need to know every detail before taking the next step. Confidence isn't having all the answers. Confidence is continuing forward because you trust that every meaningful step has a purpose. Perhaps this is why this message found you today. Not because your story is ending, but because a new chapter is quietly beginning. A chapter where you stop looking at every delay as a setback and start seeing it as preparation. A chapter where you no longer measure progress only by visible results, but by the person you're becoming along the way. There will be moments ahead that seem ordinary at first, a conversation, an unexpected opportunity, a simple decision. Don't underestimate them. Life often hides extraordinary turning points inside very ordinary moments. Looking back, you'll realize those small choices gently redirected the course of your future. And if you ever begin to question yourself again, remember this: your path does not need to look like anyone else's. Comparison has a way of distracting people from the incredible story unfolding in their own lives. Stay focused on your own journey. Your timing is unique. Your purpose is unique. Your future will unfold in a way that belongs only to you. So carry this message beyond today's video. Let it influence the way you greet tomorrow. Walk with greater awareness. Speak with kindness. Choose hope when uncertainty appears. Continue building the life that reflects your best self, because meaningful connections grow strongest when they are rooted in authenticity. As this story comes to its final words, imagine your future self looking back at today with gratitude. That future version of you smiles, not because everything happened instantly, but because you refused to stop believing in the value of each step. That quiet perseverance became the foundation for everything that followed. So take a deep breath and move forward with confidence. The message has been delivered. The journey continues. And somewhere beyond today's horizon, another beautiful chapter is already waiting for the moment you arrive. Until we meet again, keep your heart open, keep your vision clear, and never. Before this journey fades into silence, there is one final truth that deserves your full attention. Not because it promises instant answers, but because it has the power to change the way you see every chapter that comes next. Imagine that somewhere in your future, there is a version of yourself smiling with complete peace. That future version isn't smiling because life became perfect. It is smiling because, one day, everything that once felt confusing finally made sense. The delays. The unexpected turns. The unanswered questions. They were never standing in your way, they were quietly guiding you toward the right direction. This is the message your soulmate has been trying to send all along. Don't rush to become tomorrow's person while forgetting today's growth. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to become wiser, kinder, stronger, and more authentic than you were yesterday. Those small improvements may seem invisible today, but they create the future you'll one day be grateful for. Think about the people you've met throughout your journey. Some stayed. Some left. Some taught lessons without even realizing it. None of those moments were meaningless. Every encounter shaped your perspective in a unique way. Every goodbye made room for another hello. Every challenge revealed a strength you didn't know you possessed. Now ask yourself one final question. What if the most extraordinary part of your story isn't the moment you finally meet your soulmate? What if it's the incredible person you've become by the time that moment arrives? That possibility changes everything. It transforms waiting into preparation. It transforms uncertainty into hope. It transforms ordinary days into meaningful steps forward. From this day on, don't measure your progress only by what you receive. Measure it by how peacefully you move through life. Measure it by the courage you show when no one is watching. Measure it by your ability to keep believing in good things, even when they haven't fully appeared yet. Because hope is never wasted. Kindness is never wasted. Growth is never wasted. Every positive choice quietly becomes part of the future you're building. And perhaps, months from now, you'll remember this very moment. Not because these words predicted every detail of your journey, but because they reminded you to trust your own path with greater confidence. If today's message stayed with you until the very end, thank you for sharing this journey. Your presence here made this story complete. Continue sharing your light with the world, encourage those around you, and never underestimate the impact of a hopeful heart. We'll continue exploring more inspiring journeys together, one story at a time. As we close this chapter, carry these words with you. Your future is not something to fear. It is something to prepare for. Your soulmate's message was never asking you to chase endlessly. It was inviting you to grow intentionally. And when the right season arrives, you won't need to force the next chapter. You'll simply recognize it. Until our paths cross again, keep moving forward with quiet confidence, endless curiosity, and an open heart. Because the most beautiful stories are not written in a single moment. They are written, one meaningful step at a time. Just when it seems the story has reached its final page, another quiet realization begins to unfold. Not because the journey was incomplete, but because every meaningful ending carries the seed of a new beginning. If you've remained here until this very moment, perhaps it wasn't simply to hear a message, it was to discover that you have become part of it. There will come a day when you no longer ask, "When will everything happen?" Instead, you'll smile and ask, "How did every step lead me here so perfectly?" That shift is more powerful than it first appears. The heart that constantly searches eventually becomes tired. But the heart that learns to trust begins to notice beauty that was always present. Your soulmate's message has never been about creating urgency. It has always been about awakening awareness. Awareness of your own strength. Awareness of the opportunities quietly surrounding you. Awareness that every sunrise brings another chance to move closer to the life you're meant to build. Take a moment and imagine meeting someone who has never seen your past struggles. They don't know how many times you doubted yourself. They don't know how many silent battles you overcame. Yet everything you've experienced has shaped the calm confidence they will one day admire. Isn't that remarkable? The chapters that once felt difficult may become the very reason your future feels so meaningful. There is another truth worth carrying with you. Never underestimate the quiet seasons of life. They may seem uneventful while you're living them, but they often become the foundation for everything extraordinary that follows. A tree grows its strongest roots long before anyone notices its tallest branches. In the same way, your unseen growth today is preparing you for opportunities that have not yet appeared. As you move forward, keep choosing the habits that make your future self proud. Keep speaking with kindness. Keep learning. Keep believing that each small decision matters. Great stories are not created by one dramatic moment. They are shaped by hundreds of quiet choices that point in the same hopeful direction. And if, someday, you unexpectedly remember these words, let them remind you of one simple truth. You were never walking through life without purpose. Even when the road seemed uncertain. Even when the answers felt distant. Even when the next chapter was hidden from view. Your journey was still moving forward. So let today become a fresh beginning. Walk with gratitude. Walk with patience. Walk with the confidence that your best chapters are still being written. Because the message that reached you today was never meant to end with this video. It was meant to continue every time you choose hope over doubt. Every time you move forward instead of standing still. And every time you believe that tomorrow holds possibilities greater than yesterday could imagine. Until our next story, keep your eyes open, your heart steady, and your future bright. The journey continues. And perhaps the most unforgettable chapter is the one that has not yet been revealed, and now, before this journey finally disappears into the distance, there is one last scene to imagine. Picture yourself months from today, standing in a place that once existed only in your imagination. You are calmer than you are now. Wiser than you expected to become. Stronger without even realizing when that strength arrived. As you look back, you don't remember every obstacle. You remember how each one quietly prepared you for what came next. This is why the message found you. Not to convince you that the future is already written in perfect detail, but to remind you that your choices today help shape the story you live tomorrow. Every hopeful decision, every moment of patience, every act of kindness becomes another sentence in the life you're creating. The future isn't built all at once. It is built one meaningful moment after another. There may come a day when someone enters your life with a sense of familiarity that is difficult to explain. It won't be because you've been waiting in fear. It will be because you've been growing in confidence. Real connections are recognized most clearly by people who have learned to recognize themselves first. That is the quiet wisdom hidden inside every chapter of this story. So don't rush through the days ahead searching for dramatic signs. Instead, pay attention to the small moments that bring unexpected peace. Listen to the conversations that leave you feeling inspired. Notice the opportunities that encourage you to become a better version of yourself. Life often speaks in whispers before it speaks in celebrations. And remember this whenever uncertainty tries to return. You are allowed to move forward without having every answer. You are allowed to trust the process without seeing the entire path. You are allowed to believe that something meaningful is unfolding, even while it remains invisible. That kind of confidence becomes a light that guides you through seasons when certainty hasn't arrived yet. Perhaps the greatest surprise isn't waiting somewhere far ahead. Perhaps it begins the moment you stop doubting your own ability to embrace whatever tomorrow brings. Because the person you've been becoming throughout this entire journey is already carrying qualities that your future will thank you for. Courage. Patience. Wisdom. Compassion. Those gifts don't appear overnight, they are quietly earned through everyday choices. So let this be more than the end of a narration. Let it become the beginning of a new mindset. Wake up tomorrow expecting possibilities. Walk through each day with intention. Celebrate progress, even when it feels small. Trust that meaningful things often take shape long before they become visible. And whenever life seems unusually quiet, don't mistake that silence for emptiness. Sometimes silence is simply the sound of new beginnings gathering strength beneath the surface. As our paths separate for now, carry one final thought in your heart. The message your soulmate wanted you to receive was never simply, "Wait for me." It was always, "Keep becoming the extraordinary person you're meant to be, because every step you take with hope brings your future closer in ways you cannot yet imagine." Thank you for walking through this story from beginning to end. Until the next journey begins, keep believing, keep growing, and keep moving forward. Somewhere beyond today's horizon, another beautiful chapter is already waiting for you.